What's up, guys? We are live for another episode of Talking Mopars Friday Night Live. I've got some guests coming in today from Muscle Cars at the Strip. And if you don't know what Muscle Cars at the Strip is, it's an awesome event that takes place in Las Vegas, Nevada at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, primarily on the strip, the drag strip. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but the strip is an amazing facility, world-class facility. And I had a great time, and I can't wait to go back again this year. It's taking place March 18th through the 20th, and be there or be square. So we're going to bring on some of my buddies from Muscle Cars at the Strip. We're going to ask them some questions and basically promote the show or the event. It's a drag race event, an autocross event, and a show all rolled into one, all muscle cars in Sin City, Las Vegas. Very cool event. And I got to go last year for the first time. It's been going on for 20 years. This year is the 20th anniversary, and I don't want to miss it, and you shouldn't want to miss it either. So we're going to get them on here and talk muscle cars at the strip. I had a rough day at work, man. I got here just in time. 7 o'clock on the dot. We are here, and we're going to bring on some friends from Muscle Cars at the Strip. Let me get them on screen. Thank you for joining us. First up, we have Steve. Steve, what's up, buddy? Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
And we are going to bring on Carl. Carl, welcome to Talking Mopars, guys.
Hey, well, thanks for having me.
I'm excited to talk about muscle cars at the strip. We got Phil and Bill on their way in, along with Jill. We got Phil, Bill, and Jill on their way. Why don't you guys go ahead and start? Steve, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to my audience and your involvement in muscle cars at the strip?
Okay, my name is Steve Hinckley. I help with the car show portion of muscle cars at the strip. Been doing it since day one.
Wow.
Car shows is actually how Phil and I met, and that's probably 36, 37 years ago.
Wow. So you've been along for the ride, the 20-year ride of muscle cars at the strip.
Yep.
Wow.
The whole time.
So you were organizing car shows before Muscle Cars at the Strip?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Is Muscle Cars at the Strip the biggest event you've ever helped organize?
It is for me.
Yeah? Carl?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Carl, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name's Carl Robinson. Basically, I'm just I start off just a car enthusiast, car nut.
Yeah.
And belonged to a couple of car clubs, and hosted small car shows and things like that. Kind of just some. That go around across Phil at Mopar Nationals.
Okay.
Bit. And
right on.
Get it going. I'd help him, and I said, sure. Been there ever since.
Wow, yeah, 20 years is that's some longevity in the car event scene. It seems like to me, I was really young when Muscle Cars at the Strip started, so I got to see it through magazines and stuff. And as I got older, it was always one of those events that I really wanted to check out because, when you get a car show, drag race, those belong together like peanut butter and jelly to me. When I go to a car show, I feel like I'm missing out on something. And when I go to a drag race, I feel like I'm missing out on something. So why not bring them both together and have a combination event? I love events like that. And that's what I got to see at Muscle Cars at the Strip. And last year, from what everyone told me, was nothing compared to years past. And COVID really had it, put a dampener on things. But this year is the 20th anniversary, and we're really trying to promote it to get as many people to come out to Las Vegas and have a great time with muscle cars as possible. So I'm really excited to talk about that. And we have Bill Adams in the house. My friend Bill is here. Bill, how's it going, buddy?
Good, Chris. How are you?
Great. Why don't you tell people, for the folks that didn't catch our first interview before Muscle Cars at the Strip 2021, who you are, how long you've been involved with Muscle Cars at the Strip?
Bill Adams Jr. Been helping with Muscle Cars at the Strip since its inception. My father was good friends with Steve Hinckley, and that led to, Phil Painter, the event, one thing led to another, and I've been helping out since its inception. I did miss 1 year when my daughter was born. I think the day before the event, I actually was headed out the door, and my wife gave me that look like, "You will die."
That's
I
that's
remember
not
that.
surprising. I don't know what my wife would do if she was giving birth and I was like, I gotta go to a car show.
Yeah,
I gotta go
you
watch
will
some
you
cars
will
race.
not be alive.
Yeah, I might as well start filing the child support. That would be rough. So 20 years. What are some of the fun things that you can tell the audience that you've experienced at Muscle Cars at the Strip? 20 years is such a long time. I'm sure you guys have a list a mile long of of your favorite years and your favorite moments and stuff. Can you give the audience a little taste of some experiences that you've had at Muscle Cars at the Strip?
Well, what it brings to mind initially, of course, is is a lot of work, a lot of great.
Yeah.
I'm not somebody who can sit down. I don't usually do too many car shows because I'm not really into sitting down and park and polish, as they say. So I enjoy working at them. I got to keep busy, but initially what comes to mind is, of course, seeing good friends you haven't seen in at least a year, i.e., Steve, Phil, many others. But mainly it's been a large family reunion for myself, my father, and my siblings, largely my brothers. So that's generally initially what comes to mind, and then other wonderful memories that come to mind, of course, is um, many other people watching other people do the same things. There's a few great Canadians, families from Canada that come down that have become very instrumental uh, in the in the show, and just wonderful to see every year. Great folks, wonderful car people. Um, my my son Luke is autistic, called high functioning autistic. But when he first, I think at 9 years old, I convinced my wife that he needed to come with me to the event, go to Las Vegas,
Yeah.
and and be let loose. So I convinced her I had a handle on everything. Got a GPS puck you can buy your kids, that
Yeah.
gives you a real time uh, where he's at and what's going on with him. So we put the puck in, got it working, and you know the wife was waiting on the edge of her seat at home. So we're out in the swap meet, and it Luke enjoyed, like any good car guy. Um, and pretty soon I said, "Okay, Luke, is it ready?" And all of a sudden, a kid that really doesn't pay attention to much looks straight at me, says, "Can I go, Dad? Can I go? Can I go?" Yep, go. And he takes off running, literally the other way. 9 years old, autistic. Just holy shit! I'm either gonna die. His mother's gonna kill me, or. But I tracked him. I followed him around. He went to the swap meet, looked at some stickers.
Cool.
Looked at some cars. Then he went to the drag races. Just it was his first taste of freedom, and just a wonderful experience um, to have for a kid that was having a tough time in life.
Sure.
So those are some of the initial memories that come to mind um, for me.
Awesome. Yeah, I think my wife wants to get one of those GPS pucks for me sometimes. So
Yeah.
when I head to these events, she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, fortunately, my wife's not too tech savvy, so I always make sure that little thing is not on her phone, is not turned on to where she can track me. What's
That's
this,
funny.
honey? Oh, don't worry about that, dear. Don't worry about that.
Steve, what about you? What are some fun memories from Muscle Cars at the Strip? 20 years.
20 years. The funnest things for me, I got to watch Bob Riggle make his last pass.
Wow.
That was incredible.
History.
And him coming up after and giving me a big hug. I mean, it was just the family thing, the seeing all of our friends. There's a pretty close knit group that comes every year,
Yeah.
and they are very definitely family.
Awesome.
It's just, and that's probably my favorite part because we put a lot of work in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
In fact, Phil recently was asking about some posters, and it's like, what posters? I've never seen them. He says they're right next to you. It's like I don't get to see those things. I work.
That's when you talk about legends like Bob Riggle, it's like, man, I'm so young in this community that I hear about all these legends and I never got to experience them. I hear he's going to be there this year. Is
Yes,
that
he
true?
is. Yep.
I'm really excited. I hope I get to shake his hand.
Yep, he'll be there.
Yeah, fun
He'll be
stuff.
there. And he used to tell the wildest stories that you're thinking are all made up. And then you hear from someone else and it's like, they're true.
Yeah, that's awesome. Carl, what are some highlights
Well,
of the past 20 years?
I have to kind of concur with the rest of the guys. You know, it's definitely a family atmosphere, a chance to get back with people that you've learned to become, or you've actually became friends over all these years. You know,
Absolutely.
they're I pretty much run the swap meet area, and so those guys, you know, they're just well, some guys are junk collectors, whatever you want to call them, but they're just great. They're great people. They always seem to be willing to help out anybody that's got a problem. There's, you know, racers that come in there that, hey, I just broke something, you know, and everybody gets together and searches the place, tries to find it for them, you know.
Absolutely.
So racing. So there's a lot of you know, just a close knit bunch of guys and girls. One of my biggest memories, I guess, of the 20 years. There's so many of them.
Yeah, I imagine.
Every year there just seems to be something that stands out. But over the 20 years, I think for me, the one thing that really stands out is getting Big Willie.
Oh, wow.
Big Willie come and his car broke down at State Line.
Oh, no.
And Phil hit me up and says, hey, you know, can you get a flatbed? Got a flatbed trailer from somewhere. I don't even remember where I got it from, but hooked it onto my truck and I drove out there and picked him up. And I'd never met the guy. I heard about him. Well, everybody's heard about him, but I never met him. And the stories that he was telling me just on the ride from picking him up, first we had to, you know, he was just so laid back. You know, it's like, no rush.
Yeah.
You know, hurry up, let's get this thing up. We got to get back there. You know, and he's going, nah, relax. So he was telling stories the whole time we were hooking up the car and getting it boomed down on the trailer and everything. Told stories all the way to the track, unloading the car, you know. So that really stands out, you know, to me.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Yeah, that's a big name. I've been wanting to do an episode. There's so many episodes of legends in the Mopar community that I've been wanting to do episodes on. I just haven't gotten around to them. Big Willie with the Terminal Island, the Brotherhood of Street Racers and stuff, man. Huge names, and Bob Riggle and Big Willie Robinson. Yeah, that's so cool. And you know, when you guys talk about the community and everybody becomes like family over time, I've definitely seen that when I go to events. Is you can see the guys that have been doing this forever and they recognize each other. And I kind of have my own little group of guys that we kind of, through the internet and stuff like this, we've kind of started developing that kind of that bond in that community too. So I really, it's one of my favorite things about car culture in general. But I see it really strong with Mopars. As you guys know, the Mopar guys are super passionate, and the drag racing community, I've seen that too. You don't have to be a Mopar guy. You just have to be passionate about drag racing, show cars and things like that. There's always those little tight circles. And the networking that can be done is amazing. Everybody knows about a crazy car hidden somewhere, has crazy stories. I'm trying to get Phil in here. Phil is supposed to join us, and I tried to forward him the link. Bill, do you think you could reach out to Phil and try sending him the link to the chat through email? I don't know if he's getting it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, I think he can get it, but Phil is on all Apple stuff. And
Okay.
so I'm not
Oh.
sure because it looks like your link came over Google, and I'm on an iPad.
Okay, I
Well,
see.
So
I'm-
the only way I could get you up on my iPad was to make sure I had a good a good connection because streaming wasn't working.
Okay. Let me send Phil.
So that's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head here.
Okay, I'm gonna text Phil this really quick. In 20 years, so I gotta ask you guys this: with an event like Muscle Cars at the Strip, you have so many different attractions in one show. What is your favorite aspect? I feel like I'm surrounded by a couple drag racers and one hardcore show guy and Steve. Am I right or am I wrong?
Oh, I love the drags. In
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
fact, I've got
I
a
think we
picture
all love
here
the
of it, my
drags, yeah.
demon. Yeah,
Well,
I
and
didn't
what's so
get to
cool
do it
about it
very often.
is the drags there seem to be some of the most competitive drag racing that you'll see just about anywhere.
Sure.
It's just really, really competitive. I mean, it's very exciting, very thrilling. Some really, really close racing. And I've been around drag racing all my life, and
Yeah.
been a lot of different events. And someone kind of get, they're just kind of, you got your top 6 guys, and they're going to win every time they have the event. But here you just never know because it's just that tight. It's these guys come there, they come to have fun, but boy, it sure seems like it's serious when that green light is there. It's serious.
But
That's
it is
awesome.
also fun to just go and play. I
Yeah.
drove my 71 Demon down that had a 500-inch motor in it.
Oh,
Drove
wow.
it there from Salt Lake. I ran a 1230, or might have even been a 1218. Good mile per hour. And I went to go faster, and it's like, you know what? I got to drive this home. So that's as much as I did.
Well,
that's pretty hardcore. Driving
what's-
all the way down there.
That's what's unique about this place too, or this event, is I think there's just so many different like events within an event kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of open. If you got a car you want to play with, man, you can put it in autocross, you can take it down the drag strip, you can put it in a car show. I mean, there's just so many things you can do with your car. It's just nonstop. I mean,
A lot of them do all of it.
else to put it in, we'd put it in it, I'm sure.
Awesome.
So
We have the guest of the hour, Phil Painter, joining us with his wife Jill. Can you guys hear us? You guys got us good?
Yes, sir.
Right on. Phil, welcome. I'm glad you could make it, man. A little technical difficulties, but we're all here now, and we're all here for a good time. So, Phil, for the folks that don't know who you are, please introduce yourself.
I'm Jill's husband.
Jill's husband. Perfect. Actually, it'd probably be funnier if Jill introduced you and told us about you.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
I want to hear that.
So do I.
Yeah, just don't do it after the event.
Oh, I'm
No,
sure.
let it rip. Let's go. What you got?
Phil Painter, the creator and visionary of Muscle Cars at the Strip. Probably the best way to put it.
What was going through your mind when Phil started doing all this? I imagine you guys have been together for a very long time, and you probably have been there since the beginning as well. When he started organizing this event, how did that go with you?
Well, he called me on the phone because he was on his way back from an event and told me that Chris Blair had contacted him and we had the opportunity to rent the Speedway because he had been told no before by the previous manager at the Speedway that we couldn't rent the facility. And so I said, yeah, sure, go ahead, do your car show. Boy, I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
20 years later.
20 years later, 4 kids. I had a little one at the time, and I just remember him being and so busy. I was like, oh, let me get the mail for you. That'll help you out when I'm running the kids around, which led to opening the mail, which led to processing the mail. Well, let me help you answer the phone, and answering the phone with a headset on and making dinner with a little one hanging on my leg. And it was crazy.
Wow. Yeah. With car show, I don't think a lot of the regular folks that attend these events understand what really goes into these events. For my senior project in high school, I held a small car show in the high school parking lot, and the amount of insurance permits, and I'm like, I'm a high school kid. You want me to spend thousands of dollars on insurance and permits and all this? I had no idea. And that was a little show at a high school. I can only imagine the amount of planning and preparation that goes into an event like this. So Phil, I have to ask you, what inspired you to take on this event and create it and materialize it? I have to know.
You have to know.
I have to know. As it's insane. You got to be a little bit insane to
Thanks.
want to
Appreciate
take
the
this
endorsement.
on.
Come
Absolutely.
bring the white jacket to my house. Let's go.
Extra straps.
So all of us that are here tonight have been passionate about the brand, and all of us love these cars. And, you know, you look at the styling in 68, 69, 70, 71 with all three manufacturers. And most of us on here tonight were, 10, 11, 12 years old and didn't get to enjoy those cars. And by the time we got to high school, most of those cars were in pretty rough shape, but you never forgot them. So to make a long story short, my dad was a Dodge dealer for 65 years in central Utah. When I was 9 years old, he had me in sweeping the showroom. And I remember pulling out the brochures and putting them in the brochure rack for the 70 models. And there was a picture of a red 70 Hemi Cuda with a tie down the front of it. And the only word I can use is that I was smitten at 9 years old.
Yeah.
And so I finished my job sweeping the floor, and then I went into my dad's office and I says, Dad, I have something I want to talk to you about. Now, keep in mind, I've got 6 older brothers, and my older brothers were fairly rambunctious people, to put it mildly. So anyway, I walked in there thinking, okay, I got this great idea. I'm sure my dad's never heard this before, but I says, Dad, why don't you order one of these 70 Barracudas like this, and we'll just put it away. And when I turn 16, I'd like to be able to drive that car. And I promise I'll have good grades and I'll be a good kid, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I laid it out. I tried to close my dad in about 5 different ways. My dad looked up at me like, what in the hell is wrong with you, kid? I am not ordering a car like that for you. So I was bitten at an early age by the cars. And I later restored a 70 TA Challenger, a plum crazy car. And then I restored Hemi Cuda, and Steve was in helping me find parts for the car at the time. And we were competing in the Mopar Nationals. So we were hauling cars from Utah to Columbus, Ohio to compete every year. And we took second place 4 times in a row.
Wow.
Yeah. 4 times in a row, second. We couldn't take a third. We couldn't get told, don't come back, but we were that close to winning it. Man. So I found a car that a gentleman was working on that was a 70 Challenger that he had started by putting a 5.9 in it and gave up on it. So it was a fuel injected truck motor.
Okay.
And we thought to ourselves, well, how hard could this be? So anyway, to make a long story short, the car evolved. It turned into a pro touring car 20 years ago. Wow. And we took the car on the Hot Rod Power Tour, and still we're working through some bugs. And we came back at the first night where the car was debuted in Phoenix, and there was a business card on the wiper blade of the car. And I figured it was the facility telling me to take my oil leak and Mopar out of here and don't bring it back. And I flipped the card over, and it was the editor of Hot Rod.
Oh, wow.
And so one thing led to another, and the car went from just a driver that I could take the kids around the block in to me. Okay, so Jill's sitting here, so I got to tell the truth. So I come from a car dealer family, and I used to buy cars in Phoenix every week, and I found this car in the Auto Trader, and you can imagine the Joe Dirt moment when I saw it.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so I messed around for a couple of weeks, called the guy, and you could tell he was done. He was done working on the car. And so I called Jill one night and I says, hey, what do you think about me buying another car? And of course, she's feeding the kids and just hoping that I'll go away and not bother her anymore. And
No, we'd had this conversation 3 times earlier. Him telling me about this car. So what I finally said was, okay, you've been mourning long enough over selling that blue Cuda. Just buy the freaking car.
so,
Out of frustration.
so in that moment, being the wise guy that I am, I just says, well, honey, thank you. I promise I won't take it to car shows. I promise I won't go crazy with it. What was the third thing I promised you?
I don't know, but it's all lies.
So, you heard it from Jill. So anyway, make a long story short, this car evolved, and I had some really great friends in Las Vegas that helped me figure the car out. Chris, we figured out that we were in over our heads when we called the Chrysler engineer that was programming the performance computers and says, this is what we're doing. This is what we'd like to do. How do we do that? And his answer to me was, I don't know, but when you figure it out, let me know.
Wow.
Okay. So a long story short, the car competed at the Mopar Nationals 3 years in a row after being on the cover of Hot Rod. And every summer we'd bring the car back to Las Vegas after taking second, and we tore the car completely apart again.
Wow.
This is important information for anybody that comes to our event because we see that look in their eyes. Carl knows it, Bill knows it, and Steve knows it. When a guy has put his blood, sweat, and tears, and it's his passion to bring a car in. If nobody gets anything else out of this podcast tonight, it's that we've been there and we appreciate the efforts of people to go the extra mile and to finish these cars. So the answer, the rest of that story is before we were done, we ended up blocking. I mean, when I tell you that we tore the car apart, we tore it completely down to a shell 3 times.
Wow.
And it ended up with bare brakes on it. It ended up with Hotchkiss suspension on it. It ended up with a 406 stroker that was fuel injected. It ended up with a Vortex supercharger on it. So remember what I told my wife I wasn't going to do?
Yeah.
Anyway, to make a long story short, there's a theme here, and I think it's called Pinocchio. So when we won the Mopar Nationals, a good friend of mine ran the show in St. Louis, and this is the answer to your question. So a friend of ours ran Monster Mopar, and I bought a lot of parts from him when I was putting these cars together. And he says, why don't you leave your car at my house in St. Louis after you do the Nationals and come back and do Monster Mopar the 1st of September? You can leave your stuff at my house and I'll take you to the airport. So that was what we did 4 times. So the 5th time we won the Mopar Nationals. And again, he says, why don't you leave your stuff at my house? So I dropped Jill off at the airport. She was going to fly home to take care of her children. And we had put in an application to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and they flat turned us down. Told us it was the stupidest idea they'd ever heard.
Wow.
So while we're out trying to win the Mopar Nationals, we didn't know this, but the track tried to do a Mopar night in the middle of August.
Too hot.
And they had, how many people do you think showed up at that, Chris?
Well, what year was this?
2000.
Probably in 2000, yeah.
Probably like 17 or 18.
Yeah, in August. Nobody wants to go out.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you the answer to that after I tell the rest of the story. So I'm sitting at the airport, and last thing I said to Jill was, just like when I bought the green Challenger, here's the Pinocchio moment. I says, when we get home, I want to sell the car. I want to sell the trailer. I'm through with this. I traveled all the way across the country. Okay. So she hops on a plane to fly home, and little did I know it, but the track had put in a new track director while I'd been gone. And while I'm sitting in the overflow parking in St. Louis waiting for her flight to leave, I get a phone call from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and they say, hey, we found your turndown application. Would you like to talk to us?
It took him 2 days and his half of his drive home to even bring it up to me on the phone.
So,
wow.
So the answer to your first question was, how did we get into this? So we've been passionate about cars, and we want people to know that. If you are not passionate, and I think you got this from Bill, Carl, and from Steve, if you're not into this, you have no business doing it.
Yeah.
Because the business side of this is so much different than people think it is. So while I was helping and showing my cars in St. Louis, my good friend let me see how a show works. He opened up his books and he showed me how much things cost. And when I told him that I had a chance to do this show in Las Vegas, he and about 10 of his friends all said, yeah, why don't we go do this? Did you catch the we part?
Yeah, yeah.
So I came back to Las Vegas, sat down with the track, and the track turned around a contract, shoved it across the desk and said, this is what it's going to cost you. And it's win, lose, or draw.
Yeah.
You're going to pay that amount, whether you have 5 people or 500,000 people. Okay. What would you do, Chris?
I've made some questionable decisions in my life, but I always follow my heart. And I probably would have said, I know that there's people as passionate about this as I am. It's just a matter of getting them to come and to know about the event. I would have said, okay, I probably, like when I buy cars, I really don't care how much it costs. I'll figure that out later. I just feel like I would have just said, okay, well, I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna like, do you want a down payment? Can we do like what?
No, that's not how this works.
Are you gonna run my credit or what?
They will run your credit, yes.
I'm sure.
They want to know that you have the financial capabilities to rent those days. I mean, it's a pretty serious contract.
Sure.
So, like any person, I says, I need to let me have a copy of that. Let me go make some phone calls
to the wife, right? First call, Jill.
Well, no, she was last. Why would I call her? She's going to Debbie Downer that all day long. We already had 2 other businesses.
Well, honey, I hope you have a divorce attorney lined up because you're not going to like this.
So, to make a long story short, I called up my buddy in St. Louis and his 10 friends, and I says, what do you think about this? And they, slowly they all just kept falling like dominoes. Yeah, we think you should do it. You should do it. To make a long story short, then I picked up the phone and called Steve and a few of my friends out here. And, we looked at the numbers. We figured that we had a chance and it was worth trying the first time. But what people don't understand is we got the date in September and we had to have an event ready in March. Now, the normal event time, the normal turnaround time for a brand new event is at least 2 years. And that's 2 full-time professional people working on it for 2 years.
Sure.
What we didn't understand, Chris, was how many people had lived in the other cold climates that had moved to the Southwest. When we started this, my wife can vouch for this, but I basically worked around the clock for 6 months.
Pretty close, yeah. There were lots of late night, long days.
Oh God, I can imagine.
We had a lot of naysayers that say, I hope you land on your ass. I hope you don't make it. Wow. But I had just as many people. Once we had to figure out what a website did. We had to figure out, no, I'm serious.
Oh yeah.
20 years ago.
Well,
yeah.
We didn't have a website until a couple of years in.
Yeah. So we were doing everything off of ads with the source codes on them.
Wow.
And paper flyers, Phil traveling to events to get the word out. Yeah.
So to make a long story short, we knew we had something when we took this green Challenger that we previously spoke about, when we took it to the SEMA show 2 years before that. And in SEMA, before you go in on Thursday or Sunday night, you stage your cars. Mm-hmm. Everything rolls in on Sunday. And myself and Mike Staveski, Mike had a Viperized CUDA out in the parking lot sitting next to me. And people just kept coming by looking at him going like, holy crap, did you guys really do this? Well, we figured that there was some passion there. And then the next day, some guys from Chrysler come out and took pictures of both of our cars. Now, this is in 2000. The thought of ever having a new Challenger was not on anybody's mind. Was it, Steve?
Yeah.
Was it, Bill?
Not even.
Carl?
No,
not even close.
So I got a couple of trash talking car salesmen standing around with me as these guys are taking pictures of our cars. And one of them just pipes up and says, hey, look, if you build it, they'll come. How damn hard is it? I want to crawl in a hole. But 8 years later or 7 years later, they brought a car and showed a prototype at the event. So back to the story about the event. The one thing we didn't understand, that we didn't fully know how to leverage. So we got the date in September, and the guy at the track, when I finally signed the contract with him, and He's probably one of the most successful track managers in the country now. One thing he said to me is, you need to take this serious and you need to give it 100% effort, because this thing will kick your butt financially if you don't give it 100% of your attention.
Oh yeah.
Now I'm sitting in the corporate offices when I hear this, and I realize that the financial risk I've just put my family in.
Yeah.
And so people need to understand that you don't even get a consideration at a track like one that is owned by Speedway Incorporated unless you can bring it.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
what was interesting is we get the date in September, we go to SEMA that year. We have the warm fuzzies because people like what we're hearing. But here's the strange thing. So we put a couple of ads in the Mopar magazines, and this is what's really changed over the years. We used to have 5 Mopar magazines that we could put an ad in
Yeah.
to advertise the event. How many do we have now?
Gosh, I think there's maybe 2, 3.
Okay.
Collector's Guide. I think
There's
Mopar
not
Action
5,
is
is
still
there?
around. No, absolutely not.
So we put a business, or we put an office in our home, and I just told Jill, I says, with these other 2 businesses, I'm going to have to work a lot of hours, and I just leave work the hours where I can at least see our kids, because our kids were small. And when we got to the first of the year, the phone starts ringing, and I don't recognize the area codes. And to my complete surprise, I start talking to Canadians. It's like, well, you guys got the wrong number. What are you calling me for? And they want to be part of this Mopar show. And it's like, I get up and walk in and tell Jill, some guy from Canada just called us and he wants to come to an event. So where this is all going is, and this is why we have the tagline of the event, that it's people, passion, and performance, because the passion of everybody is what's made the event successful. If people didn't care, there's no way that this thing could make it 20 years.
Sure, absolutely.
But you can ask Carl, you can ask Bill, and you can ask Steve. When you see people roll through the gate and they roll in and you're old friends, that is probably the greatest blessing that has come from being an event promoter. It is like a great big family reunion.
Yeah, that's something that I like to see, definitely. 20 years, man. You guys all must have just a giant network of friends that you've made over the years. And I mean, it's got to be, is Muscle Cars at the Strip the event that do you guys stay in touch, or is it like we all see each other once a year at Muscle Cars at the Strip and it's like we've never missed a step?
Are you talking about the 5 of us, or are you talking about the crew, or everybody that comes?
I imagine that you guys have made some really good friends over the years, just of people that started showing up and they started being regulars. I can't imagine it's a new crop of people every year. I imagine you guys get some, hardcore, people that have been doing it for 20 years and they love the event. They love to come out to Las Vegas and they love how the event's structured. I imagine you guys have made quite a number of relationships with, not only just people that are involved in the event, but people that have come to the event for 20 years. I mean, I imagine that's longevity. That's serious longevity, is 20 years.
It's both.
Yeah.
There's quite a few that we keep in contact all the time.
Yeah.
Some of us go back. I mean, I knew Phil and Jill before they were married. They were putting that purple TA together. When I met Bill's dad, he couldn't have been in his early teens. In fact,
Wow.
I didn't meet him till way later. So these are a family.
Yeah, we said what, 83, so I was 13.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
So, Chris, this brings up a really good point. And one of the things that you wanted to talk about is the nuts and bolts of the event.
Yeah.
And so let's address this right now. So we all feel very blessed that we've been able to do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And when we saw the changes coming with the event, which is the aftermarket and the aging out, when we started this event, we knew we had to work like hell because we had a 10-year window. And it was nonstop for the first 3 years. As soon as the event was over, I was on the next one.
Yeah.
No, seriously. I mean,
no, I believe it.
And we knew that we had a 10-year window because the people that had these cars as high schoolers at the time were in their 50s, and now they're in their 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to make a choice about 5 years ago whether we were going to roll with the punches and roll with the changes or get stuck in our way. And it's been a very tough decision. But what's cool about it is we've had so many Mopar people understand that we've got a great thing here. Why not share it if that's what it's going to take to keep it going?
Yeah, absolutely. I have to ask, when you talk about how much, I don't want, I think trouble's the wrong word, but how much time and effort you had to put into that first event. I am curious, how many people, like, how big was, I mean, you advertised in 5 magazines, you went all over the country to get the word out. I'm curious how successful that first show was. It had to have been pretty successful for you to go, okay, I'm going to do, after that was over, you're already planning the second one. I imagine the first one was really successful.
I have to answer part of it. Phil can say something as well,
Okay.
but as we did the first event, I remember helping Phil with the registrations, and I remember going out to the event and just thinking, well, I hope someone shows up at the gate to register at the gate.
Yeah.
And it was so overwhelming. It was completely unbelievable. I felt like I was so in over my head. I was so grateful for Carl's wife, Mary. She came, and here I thought, oh, there'll be some people show up at the gate. I can take care of selling the t-shirts too. Oh, there's no way. Mary just says, yep, Jill, I got it for you. I'll take it. And she just took care of all of that for me, because there's no way. I could not believe how many people just showed up and registered at the gate. I don't remember what our numbers were that first year, but to me, it was an overwhelming response, more than I thought we would have.
So I have another flip side of this, Chris. So once I got the date, I mean, I called Steve frequently because he was my sounding board. Do you think we can do this? Do you think we can do this? And the Thursday before, we were supposed to set up on Friday, because Friday was a setup day. Okay, on Thursday, my buddy from St. Louis flew in, and I had Bob Riggle with me, and I took him up to the corporate offices because they wanted their deposit, and they wanted the check so that they could build the event, because the event's going to happen on Friday and Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday. Not Friday, but Saturday, Sunday. So we're standing in Chris's office, and he says, so, how many people do you have coming? I says, well, we've got 337 racers. We've got 279 car shows. He looked up at me and he says, no shit. And Bob Riggle says, yeah, he's got that many. And then Chris says to me, so do you have their money? I says, yeah, they paid. They paid already. So we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. And when Jill told you the story about how Mary saved our rear ends, that story has played out with everybody on here, and it plays out every year over and over. So this is what happened the first year. So we get out there, and this is supposed to be a setup day. People are supposed to be able to come into the event, and it starts Saturday and Sunday, because we only rented the track Saturday and Sunday. And I got there early, and I looked outside the front gates, and they were 4 wide all the way to the marquee.
Wow.
And
that's insane.
The track security called the track manager, and he come out and found me. And this is no lie. He looked at me and he says, where in the hell did all these people come from? Now, it's a good problem to have, but we were completely overwhelmed. And if we didn't have people like you have on your show right now that know people, we couldn't have even survived that first one. But people saw that we were in over our heads, and they jumped in and helped us. And when the first event was over, I mean, I was pretty sure on Friday night, after everything that had happened, I did the first show with the severed Achilles.
Oh my God.
In my left leg.
Right.
Wow.
So on Friday night, after I figured that we had screwed everything possibly could screwed up, I figured that they were going to zip tie me to the fence, and people were going to come by with a baseball bat and beat the crap out of me.
Jill first, or?
Yeah, she was the one carrying the golf club. She had the 3 wood.
that point, I would have definitely rescued him.
But this is the good side of this story, Chris. I started looking around, and nobody cared about Phil. They were sitting in a pit with all their friends, barbecuing dinner, telling stories, having a great time. Nobody cared about all the things we did wrong.
Mm.
All they cared about is what went right.
How did that feel for you, Phil? Standing there at the first event, looking around and seeing what you created. That had to have been a crazy feeling. Just like, wow, you had to have been overwhelmed, I imagine.
Well, so overwhelmed is a very, very shallow word. Let me put it to you this way. If you've tried to put on a car show and a drag race, and you've got more people there than even the track thought you were going to have, it was just a combined effort of everybody. There wasn't a minute to sit around and pat yourself on the back.
No,
Right.
sure.
Everybody was so busy during that event, and it's the way it is every year, that if you stand back and say to yourself, we got this under control, the next thing you know, there's going to be a problem. So every one of us that have done this event for 20 years understands how important it is to be on your best game, because anything can happen. The answer to your question was, I had 2 or 3 professional promoters call me after they heard what had happened and set me down and told me, hey, look, you've got something here. If you'll listen to us and you'll take some professional advice and you'll treat this like a business and not a hobby, you might have a chance of this having some legs under it. The other thing that Chris told me from the track was, most events lose money for the first 5 years, and you have to be prepared for that hit financially. And if you chicken out during that 5-year period, the magic normally comes at number 6. Wow. And you've got to be in there for the long haul. So there's been no patting ourselves on the back. I'm grateful for the people on this podcast with you, because everybody understands the big financial risk that we've taken. But when we hear comments, and Las Vegas is a busy town.
Yeah.
And there is a expectation when you go to a venue that you're going to bring X amount of people and it's revenue driven. We have one of the world's greatest facilities right here in Southern Nevada, in the entertainment capital of the world. And they've been great to work with, but there is an expectation that comes with that. And I knew what that expectation was, because, like I said, I had some professional promoters sit me down and set me straight on what I was taking on here. But what I found out the next year when we went back and said, hey, we'd like to do this again, I figured, yeah, well, the rent's going to go through the moon. Your people are, there's no way we're doing this. And Chris, I heard over and over, we love your demographic. It's like hosting a barbecue or a family reunion. Now that's when you realize that together as a team, you've got something. When a hotel in Las Vegas that hosts an event 52 weeks of the year tells you that, what would you do? You got to pay attention.
Oh, absolutely. For the people, I don't think, like, when we were talking about that first event and how many people showed up, and Jill was explaining how many people were there and how she was shocked. For the people that haven't been to Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Las Vegas Motor Speedway is the biggest, because I haven't been all over the country and seen all the other tracks. When I went to Las Vegas Motor Speedway the first time, I was shocked at how big that facility is. So when you say, like, I know what area you guys are talking about, and you're talking about lines of cars, and I'm not sure if everybody that listens to this or is watching this understands that it started off as Mopars at the Strip, and it evolved into muscle cars at the Strip. So you're talking about an event that was strictly Mopars, and the Mopars came out in droves. That's kind of amazing. I really, I wish I always say that I grew up in the wrong era. I wish I had seen and been able to attend those first few events, because it's the beginning of Mopar history. You've cemented yourself in Mopar history, because it's one of the best Mopar events. Everyone that I talk to that has been to muscle cars at the strip, or when it was Mopars at the strip, has nothing but good. I've never heard a bad thing. It's really remarkable, and I'm glad that I at least get to be a small part of it, especially for the 20th anniversary, because that's a big milestone. What are your feelings like? At 20 years, that's crazy. You have to have some feelings, some strong feelings about doing this for 20 years. Or when are you gonna? Are you ever gonna hang it up, or are you just gonna do it until the very end? Because it's not easy, and you don't do this full time for a living. This isn't your day job organizing this event, is it?
Well, it's become a full-time gig.
Sure.
For Phil, not for me.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he only gets me part-time because I do have to work full-time. But I think your answer to part of your question of it being amazing for 20 years, I remember when we started, and a couple of years in, Phil says, you know what, you look at the age of the cars, you look at the age of a lot of people coming to the event, and I don't see a lot of, younger people coming in. We might only have 10 good years to do this event. So looking back at it now, being 20 and switching to muscle cars, it is pretty amazing that we've done it that long. I can't believe that we've done it that long. We went from our youngest being 3 to she's grown up in the last probably 6 years, took over selling the t-shirt trailer from when she was about 14, 16,
Wow.
with her sister. So that's pretty, it does kind of blow our minds, the amount of time.
So I'll address your second part of your question. Are we going to do this forever? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And the reason being is when the quality goes out, and between the 5 of us can't be proud of what we've done, and when the support's not there, then the magic is gone.
Sure.
So I've done most of the talking here, and I apologize, but I've lived the hell of COVID.
Yeah.
And I want everybody to understand, we were at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway on the 15th of March, and there was an event being held, and I was out there passing out flyers trying to drum up business. And on the 16th, I was at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and my phone started to go off. And I got called up to the corporate offices and was informed that the whole facility was shutting down, and we had 2 hours to vacate the property. Not only me, the whole staff.
Wow.
So a year's worth of work preparing for the 2020 event. And we were looking at our data going into the 2020 event, and it was going to be a great event. So do you remember my example of saying that I thought people were going to zip tie me to the fence and beat me with a baseball bat?
Yeah.
That happened on March 16th of 2020. I can remember leaving there because it was not negotiable. There was nothing I could say to anybody. I had done a lot behind the scenes with public officials to make sure that we could get the event in. But here's the magic of the show, Chris. As devastating as that was, and dealing with this whole deal with COVID on an outside event, and you guys can judge for yourself, but we've got 1 million square feet of asphalt just in the drag race paddock. There's plenty of room, but because it got shut down, and we had to let people know that it got postponed because we had no say in it. If the Speedway comes to you and says all of our employees are leaving, they have to be off the property in 2 hours, you get the message that this thing's done.
Yeah.
Here's the magic in the event. Everybody gave us the benefit of the doubt. And for the most part, would you say, Jill, 98% of the people have been nothing but supportive?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And if anybody would have wanted to blame us and take a shot at me, I'll give you my phone number, 256-8254. But people were understanding. They just wanted to get back to the things that they loved. That's the magic in the event, Chris. If you're sitting home, so let's talk like Mopar people here for a minute. if you're sitting home and you're looking at magazines and you're daydreaming about the day you can get that dart out of your backyard and make a show pony out of it, we hear every year, and I'm being kind of rude here, we hear people say to us, and you're laughing, Chris, because you know where I'm going with this.
I'm laughing because I probably said the same thing that you're about to say. So I'm the guy you're talking about. So continue.
Well, so let me say it because I could be the jackass here. But we still have people say to us, one of these days I'm going to come. Well, my hell, it's been 20 years. What are you waiting for? An invitation? So here's your damn invitation. Pack up your crap, come with your friends. If you come to the event and you watch this podcast and you're not impressed with what you see at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway at Muscle Cars the Strip, I'll give you your damn money back.
That's true. He will.
I will interject here and say that when I showed up in 2021, I was amazed at the facility. I was happy because a lot of my local shows were canceled. So to know that I could go to one of my favorite cities in the world for debauchery and all that kind of fun stuff and participate in an event that is, my passion, cars, was great. And when I got there, when the sun set and I looked at the staging lanes, I was like, I got to go over there, and every single person that I talked to was so happy to be there. It was like, because the past 2 years, we've all been kicked in the dirt and kicked in the face. Phil, maybe you a little bit more than others, but
Thanks. Appreciate that comment. Good that was, for hell's sakes, Chris.
Man, I got a weird feeling when I was in those staging lanes talking to people because they seemed genuinely happy as I was to be out and about doing something that I loved. And I can only imagine what the 20th anniversary is going to bring when I know the mandates are getting lifted everywhere. So for those people that have been like me, dying to get out and experience your love of cars again, because a lot of us have been shut down and a lot of great events have been canceled. So like what better way to get back to normal than to go to Las Vegas March 18th and 20th or through the 20th to Las Vegas Motor Speedway and participate in muscle cars at the Strip. That's my soft pitch. I think it's going to be a huge event, and I'm really excited to see what happens when things are opened up and it's like, okay, COVID, you're done now. You're over. We're ready to get on with our lives. How excited are you, and what are your expectations for this year?
Who do you want to answer that, Chris?
All of you. I'd like to. Let's get everybody.
Well, I'm definitely excited. Definitely. I'm definitely excited because, like you said, everybody's been, held down, cooped up. Yeah, whatever you want to call it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, like it usually is. But I think this time it's going to be a little extra special. I think people are going to be have that little bit of extra bit of gratitude, just to be out and get to be with people and mingle with cars and smell fuel and burnt rubber and just to have fun. Just have fun again. Just a chance to go have fun with some loud cars.
Carl, you're getting me excited. That's what I like to hear. Steve, what about you?
I'm excited for the show because I think we've really dialed in a lot of things over the years. And there's a few more things I think we're going to try this year that I think are just going to make it over the top. Awesome. I mean, if you want to show a car, this is the place to do it.
Definitely.
Bill?
Well,
wake up, Bill.
There's some new partners involved that I think are going to be exciting to see what they do. There's it's changed. The tenor has changed over the years as we've had to change. There seems to be some younger people getting involved. And I like to see the transition that's happening within the muscle car community is a kind of away from purist originalism. And now I say that as a somewhat of a purist originalist
Yeah,
myself.
sure.
But I like to see that everybody's appreciating everything a lot more.
Yeah.
I think that seems to be one of the biggest changes, welcome changes in the car community. Is hey, I'm all Mopar all the time, but I appreciate a lot more all the other stuff. One of the neatest comments I've heard about muscle cars at this trip just this last year was, and I think it was just something online said, "Yeah, man, that was a great show. It's a bit Mopar heavy, but it was a great show." And he said, "But that was kind of neat because you never go to a show that's Mopar heavy. They're all Chevy or Ford heavy."
Yeah.
So, so to have that comment, it's a great show. It's a little Mopar heavy. Okay. Um, but it was a great show. I think I think that wears well.
Well, you're definitely speaking to the right audience. Um, Phil and Jill.
I know Phil's has been working on some really exciting things because, like you said, for 2020 we really had some cool things prepared. So he's just tried to build on that and even add some new things. He can tell you about the new things he's added. But we have some sponsors that have been with us for the full 20 years, a handful of them, and they've been fabulous. We have to give them a shout out because they've become really close friends to us as well. And we couldn't do it without them. But he's got some new people coming in and some that have been in and out in the past. And so it's going to look really good. So go ahead.
I got nothing. No,
You
hey,
never have
I got
nothing.
plenty to say here. So
We know, Phil.
Well, I have to. I'm the guy that lives this. I either can present it and you're going to say to yourself, I want to go, or you're going to say, I don't like him. I like his wife though, but I don't like him. Hey, look, here's one of the most
Join the
exciting
club.
things that we can
Yeah.
share with you. So we have a contest called the World's Ultimate Mopar. And I was just at Barrett Jackson. And every year, some of the cars that win World's Ultimate Mopar, when they're on the stage being announced, one of the accolades that people lean on is the fact that it won the World's Ultimate Mopar, GM or Ford, at Muscle Cars of this trip. So one of the cool things that's going to happen this year is in the World's Ultimate Mopar, Chevrolet, or GM and Ford, if you win the stock category in Las Vegas, you get an invitation to the sold out McCacken show in Chicago.
Really?
Which is yeah, there are people every year. They're already turning people away for the McCacken show in Chicago. But if you win the World's Ultimate Mopar stock in Las Vegas, you get an invite to that show. We are so excited about that I cannot tell you how excited I am to have that part of the event. When Jill mentioned 20-year sponsors, so Sam Davis and everybody at TTI has been with us since day one. And you stop and think about that. He has the trust and confidence in us for 20 years to hang in with an event. What an honor. We take that very seriously, that we've got that kind of a working relationship with them. So the car show is going to be fantastic. Bill has been helping me work on a big announcement that is going to come out next week.
Oh,
That we think is really going to leverage the car show. Bill has been a very important part of that whole relationship. And I think when you hear who our new presenting sponsor of the car show is, I think everybody's going to have to take notice. This goes back to my comment about you've had 20 years to get your ass out here. What's it going to take? So
Yeah.
we're going to unload the guns on you. And if next year you say, well, I should have went to the 20th anniversary. What if there isn't a 20th anniversary? What if the five of us decide to go fishing? Seriously. So we talked about the car show. We talked about the involvement of TTI. We're going to give away 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards. And the first one, if you're a Mopar guy, you're going to recognize this name, Bob Masolini.
really?
If you've ever bought a part,
Legend.
who said legend? Raise your hand.
That was
Okay,
good.
that's you, Chris. Bob Masolini is going to be there, and he's going to receive a lifetime achievement from the 5 of us.
Awesome.
And along with Bob Masolini, Sam Davis is also going to get a Lifetime Achievement Award. And Chris, you were there last September,
hmm
and you watched the community come together and do something very nice for Bill and his family, especially Bill's son Luke.
Yeah, 100%.
From an event standpoint, we had to beg for that September date just to get it. The Las Vegas Motor Speedway is very busy. The
And
first
they
day of
changed
that
their
event,
mind a few times.
what's that?
And they
Yeah.
changed their mind a few times.
Wow.
But what people don't realize is we had no choice in the time of day because we had to run it at night because it was too hot. It threw people off on the car show. It threw people off in the swap meet, and it threw
Yeah.
people off in the manufacturer's midway. But it was the only 2 days we could do the event, and we had to be out of there at 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. And Jill and I left just before the next group of racers came in. People don't understand how busy the Las Vegas Motor Speedway is. We literally had to beg for that date. But on Friday, I looked at Jill and she looked at me and she says, "Why would we ever do this again?" Okay. I'm not kidding you, Chris. If there was an event that fought us, the September 10th date fought us from the day we said we'd do it. On September 11th, we went out to the track and the magic happened.
Yeah.
When I tell you that there was magic in the air, when Mopars 5150 gave away those veteran cars on September 11th, if you were there, I still have cold chills thinking about it. When they unveiled the car and gave the car and surprised Luke with it, knowing the effort that had gone behind that by some unsung heroes such as Courtney Hansen, Royal Garage, and a group of just dedicated gentlemen in Casper, Wyoming, it's unbelievable. They even had to fight COVID and still got the car done. I mean, when you see those kind of efforts, if you've never talked to me on the phone and you've never met me and you're watching this podcast, I'm passionate.
Yeah.
Because if you weren't passionate, there's no way in hell you could do this job. So that happened at the car show and it was magic. So then you go up to the autocross and Chris Birdsong, if you're following him on Instagram, he brought a bunch of his rowdy friends and they autocrossed all night long. And I'm still hearing stories about those guys raising hell in the autocross with their cars. But the magic for me, Chris, and I'm going to get to these 5 points. The magic for me happened on the drag strip because there was a racer that got COVID and he had some other underlying conditions and he passed away. And part of what he put in his last will and testament is he wanted his car to go to his racing buddies. So they said to me, we want to honor him. And the track schedule got all screwed up. So then they kept telling me, everybody's here. Well, I had no idea what everybody here means. Then I was made aware that there were 19 people that had driven down here from San Jose that wanted to be here to see us pay a memorial to him.
Yeah.
When we finally got to the point, it was 9 o'clock at night when we were able to honor the wishes of the family. 2 of his buddies come up and did great big smoky burnouts. And then went down the track at about 5 to 10 miles an hour while there's bagpipes playing. Second group of cars come up and do the same. The third set of cars come up and they just annihilated the tires. And as they're going down the track, people are on their feet and you can feel it in the air. And the bagpipes are playing. And then the Las Vegas Motor Speedway eulogized this man. And then they went into all of the blessings we have as a country and the price that was paid on September 11th by our veterans. And it was one of those moments that it made. You ask if I'm proud about a moment. That's a moment that I was just glad that I was with such great people as the 5 on this board and yourself. When the gentleman's car came down the return road and he followed the other 6 cars, there was a cardboard cutout of his personage.
Yeah.
And all 19 people came over and wanted to tell me thank you. 2 small Hispanic women came over and through an interpreter who was the aunt told us that that was the nicest thing that had ever happened to their family.
Wow.
So if you think you know what it's like to go to an event, make the effort to come to an event and to experience an event and to be able to see those things. I mean, when I tell you that the Las Vegas Motor Speedway put on a spectacular tribute to this young man, it's all about the people. And that's why we have the tagline, people first, passion and performance, because it really is about the people. And if you've never been to the event, find a way to get here. Our biggest disappointment is when people won't come and partake of it. And, you know, if they're not coming because they can't afford it, get a hold of you. We'll figure out how to get you there.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to see something, and that's what I'm most proud about, is the people portion of the event. We just sent a Lifetime Achievement Award to Tom Skonsberg in Red Deer, Alberta, Canada. He's had some health problems. Now stop and think about that. A guy in the desert sending an award to a guy in Canada. How does that happen? Well, Tom Skonsberg, for years, brought down cars and won the world's ultimate Mopar because his cars are absolutely stunning. And then, Chris, if that wasn't enough, he had another trailer that he would break out his super stock and come out on the racetrack and raise hell in his CUDA. So if you think you've been to the event, folks, this is what you're missing. Get your ass out here and see why the rest of us are doing all of this.
Yeah, so, I definitely agree with everything you said, especially during the tribute. That was very powerful. I was on the track when that happened, and you could feel it in the air. It was definitely a powerful moment. And as far as getting your ass to Las Vegas for the event, last year was my first year. I can only imagine what the 20th anniversary is going to be like. So I'm asking everybody that watches this and listens to this to come join me, come join Phil, come join Carl, Steve, and Bill, and of course Jill, the lovely Jill, for this amazing event. You know, we can all sit here and stand on the rooftop and stuff, but what people don't understand is if we don't come out to these events, they will not happen. And if you're a car enthusiast and you're passionate about this kind of thing, then you have to support these events. Not to mention, there are an amazing fun time. I had a great time, and I've been thinking about the 20th anniversary of Matt's since the last one. I was like, man, I can't wait for the next one. And I really, it's funny because you're saying, you know, if you've been thinking for 20 years about coming out and you haven't, get your ass out. I realized I was like, I've been missing out for 20 years. And I'm just so glad that the 20th anniversary, I can't tell you how excited I am to be a part of that. I'm super excited. And I see in the comments that there's some people heading out thanks to my influence. But I'm really excited to see everybody that's coming out. And it's going to be a great event. And you know, you left us kind of hanging saying that in a week you're going to announce something. Obviously you're not going to tell us what you're going to announce, but where
I got more. I got a couple more things. So let me finish what I started here.
Okay, finish. Let's go.
Okay, so we talked about three things. We talked about Bob Masolini. We talked about this big announcement with the car show.
Yeah.
And this is really people refer to this as a car show. It's a 4-ring, 5-ring circus. If you came just for the car show, there's so much more. So we've talked about the car show. You're going to get to see some of the. We have a 70 Hemi Cuda coming down from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, that won at McCacken. You're going to get a chance to see that car.
Oh wow.
Okay. Again, somebody's got to bring this stuff up. So the car show is going to be phenomenal, and the chance to get to go to McCacken is going to be off the charts. The big sponsor that we're going to announce next week is equally as important. The autocross. Chris Birdsong is now got a hoopty challenge out on Instagram for people that have never been on the autocross because they want to come out and compete. And everybody thinks they've got to have a special this or that. And if you go to Chris's page, which is at Junker Up Chris Birdsong, he's really doing a great job to bring people out. So here's the other part of the autocross, and we're going to have a big announcement about the autocross next week. So if you're bringing your wife and she's saying, well, this is dumb, it's a car show, I'm going to sit in my lawn chair just like we've done at every other car show. No, sweetheart. If you go to the autocross, you've got a chance to ride in a 60 or a 74 Dodge Scamp with a 6.4 Hemi in it that looks like it was your grandpa's car, and it'll frickin' blow your mind how the car behaves. You have the
don't drive
opportunity
like
to
it.
ride.
Yeah.
You have the opportunity to ride in a Tesla Plaid that is set up for the autocross, so you get to hear that
Oh,
silent
really?
whisper raising hell.
Oh boy.
And our new sponsor of the autocross is also going to bring in a stock car and take you for a ride in it. And then they're going to offer you a ride in a fully maxed out G machine. If you've never been in an autocross car, it's an experience that you need to be in, because you think your car handles. If you're not strapped in that belt when you go around those turns, you're going to experience something that you never have. And every time somebody's done that, when they get out, they've got a grin on their face it's ear to freaking ear.
Sure.
So let's talk about drag racing for just a second, because not only are you going to have a car show, you're going to have vendors, you're going to have a swap meet, you're going to have the manufacturers midway, but we're bringing in the 2 fastest Hellcats in the world. Okay, they're not the 2 fastest Hellcats in my imagination. We're bringing in Leon Epling, who was the record holder from 2015 until October 14th of 2021, when another Hellcat racer named Kevin Helmick took his car, brought it off the trailer, and was the first person ever to run a 699 in a Dodge Hellcat. For all you guys thinking, oh, that's really cute, that's in a quarter mile, not in an eighth mile.
Yeah.
Okay. The fastest Hemi super stocks in the country are getting into the 830s.
Yeah.
And they're pushing the envelope right to the end. These guys have already been 699. Let that sink in. Let that marinate. Okay.
Right.
You think your shit's
Well, and that's the other cool thing about this event too. You know, I got a lot of sites and stuff that are all these new muscle. I call it new muscle, young muscle, modern muscle.
Yeah.
You know, and all these guys are tinkering. They're changing, pulley sizes. They're changing blowers. They're changing injectors. They're really tweaking on these cars, and they all think they got something. I keep telling them, I said, look, bring it out here, bring it out. This is the best place that you're going to get a chance to put it up against something you don't know, and you can find out if your work is really paying off, if your cars are really starting to step up to where you think they are. A lot of these guys are doing this stuff they have no idea, because they really don't have any place to run it. If they do, they just run it, down a track with no competition. So this is a good chance to come bring it. You got strangers that you'll make friends with. Trust me.
This brings up an interesting topic when you talk about the new muscle and stuff. You guys have been doing this for a long time. You've seen the old cars, the super stocks. Everybody loves super stocks. What are your guys' opinions on the new muscle and these Hellcats and the amount? It seems like the modern muscle movement has kind of breathed, or it seems like it's given new life to what we love, and it seems like the younger crowd is getting involved now, and it's like
100 shot of nitrous, dude?
Yeah, well, it's a shot. Phil just said it. It's a shot.
Yeah.
This is a good jab. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think we need to enjoy it to its fullest, because I don't think it's going to last long.
As somebody who's interested in perpetuating the hobby, a club, the entire thing, interested in keeping the history alive, I see the new muscle car owners as a wonderful addition to the entire hobby. Are they all going to become interested in the older stuff and the history and keeping it alive? No, but some of them are, and that would not have come from anywhere. They would have gotten interested in somebody else. Some of these kids that are interested in the modern muscle will become interested in keeping the history of not only Mopars but all these cars alive. And so I welcome it at every level.
Oh yeah, we have to. because I think they're trying, evolution is trying real hard to push it away.
And like anything else, when they actually look at the innovations that were done in these cars in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they'll be shocked and amazed to some extent, and then they'll get in their Hellcat and scream out of there a hell of a lot faster than I am going to be in my '69 Roadrunner. So, but regardless, it's ripe picking ground for people that are going to become real true enthusiasts.
Absolutely. Off topic just a little bit here. I feel, and this is my personal opinion, that there's still this weird gap between the old school guys, that love the vintage cars and the modern muscle. I go to car shows and I see this separation, and I've always wanted the show to kind of bridge that gap a little bit. Do you guys see the same separation in
Well,
the community?
yes, and I see more of an acceptance. It's more and
Yeah.
more, like I say, well, I see it because I'm kind of, I'm interested in what the younger generation is doing. I want to see what
Sure.
they're doing. So, that's what I do in my spare time, I guess, is get on the internet and check this stuff out. But yeah, there is. And I think the biggest, I guess, purpose or the reason why I think the gap is there is because the new muscle has so much technology and it has so much, computer stuff, software stuff and stuff like that, where the old guys, the old school stuff, it was real simple. I mean, you got an engine, you got a steering wheel, you got a carburetor. That's it. That's it. You don't have to have, a computer to run the fuel injection or, and the timing and all this, that, and the other. It's real simple stuff. Well, to the young guys, it's so much simpler to have a computer because all that stuff's mechanical, it's old, and it's slow, And so the young guys are going to take this thing, like you said, you already got Hellcats turning, $699s, it's just unbelievable stuff. I mean, it's unbelievable when you think about it. Like Phil said, let that sink in for just a minute.
Oh yeah.
That's just crazy. So, I kind of lost where I was going with it, but it's so much simpler for the younger guys, Yeah.
So, Carl, you probably would agree with me. Here's what I think is really going on in the car show portion. I've watched Steve, I've watched Bill, and I've watched Carl have to restore a car that was, say, 10 years old when they got it, and they want to put it back to showroom condition. If you've got a color sand a car, and if you've got to sand a car, and you've got to replace a panel, you've got to rebuild a motor, and you've got to rebuild a lot of the components on the car because you want it to function as well as it did when it was new. You're heavily invested in that car. You've done a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get it there. And if I can walk down and have them slap a happy tag on the back of a Hellcat, that's a whole different experience. If you build the car and you had to go through those steps, I think it's not a separation. It's just a difference of perspective on the owners, because I can look at a 70 Hemi Cuda and it still makes me just grin. And I can look at a brand new Hellcat, but I know the guy that's restored the car has probably put 2,000 or 3,000 hours of his own time and energy and his buddy's energy, like Carl's Dart. When Carl brought his Dart out to be part of the 7071 display in September, the car looked like it came off the showroom floor. And the only reason it looked like that is because Carl spent the time to get the paint, and it was a black car, to look absolutely spectacular. So you've got two different processes. You've got the pride portion of it where you've had to rebuild it to enjoy it. And then you have the modern guys that are now individualizing their cars rather than restoring them.
Yeah.
It's just a change in definition. But I can tell you that the passion that's in Steve's eyes, the passion that's in Carl's eyes, I see it with this younger generation. And just like Bill said, we all like cars. I was just out to Shelby the other day, and the general manager said to me, "I love cars." I mean, here's an adult running the Shelby manufacturing plant, and that was his answer. And I think that's the message is, Carl, is this not right? We just love cars, but if you have to restore your demon and you have to go do the work you had to do to get your demon ready for the event, it's a whole nother process than a guy that can just go out and take a car duster and wipe off his driver.
True.
Right, Carl?
Yes, sir. Yep.
I like to
Absolutely correct.
I like to ask that question because, like I said, I really want this show to be the bridge of that gap because I love it all. And I totally understand the points you're making. I like to get different opinions on that. But let's get back to muscle cars at the Strip. You said that, obviously it can't go on forever. There has to be a point where you're like, okay, I've done this long enough. But I'm curious if there's still room for evolution within the event. Are there still things that you haven't done yet that you want to accomplish, or certain aspects of the show that you want to change moving forward? Or is what you've created, you just want to keep it going for as long as you can as it is? Because it seems like I've never been to the other events, but I definitely understand that it's evolved, and I'm curious if it's going to keep evolving.
And you want me to answer
Of course
that?
it will.
That's a great answer.
No, it will. It will.
Bill says no.
No.
No, and the reason being is, if we're going to be honest here, it's easy to go on the internet and be a voyeur and look at on pages and daydream about putting a car together. But if you've ever changed a rusty floor pan in a car, and if you don't have the skill set and you're not a body man, you're 9 out of 10 people is not going to finish that accomplishment. They're going to cut the floor out and they're never going to get the new piece in. And I think there's a part of the hobby where people are daydreaming, looking on the internet, and they think that it looks easy to watch a guy that has spent his whole life mastering his craft to be able to put a trunk floor in, or the bottom of a floor pan, or you name the part on the car. And I think we've gotten numb to the fact that these guys are really craftsmen that are doing it. Okay. And I think that it's a time for everybody to wake up to the fact that when you see a beautifully restored car, it's taken a craftsman to do that car. So back to your question about the event, and Steve and Carl and Bill probably can all attest to this. You can tell when the promoter's burned out. If you go to an event and it's stale and there's no new energy and all he's doing is obligating himself because he's got a little bit of ROI on it. Jill, can't you tell when you've been to a car event and they're waiting to just get paid so they can go home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we would be doing everybody a disservice if we did that. And the thing you're going to get with the 5 of us is you're probably going to get brutally honest answers. And so if people think that this is going to go on forever, stay home and see what happens. No, I mean, it's just simple. It's simple math. I cannot go out and rent one of the greatest facilities in the world and then have people not be engaged. That's where the light has to come on. As long as it's fresh and people are coming, I'm more excited about this 20th anniversary show than, I can tell you 4 or 5 more things that are happening. I'm going to give you an example right here. See that? Didn't think you could. That is clear full. That is clear full of some wild payouts. There's so much great stuff going. But how this has all come about is people in the drag racing business understanding that the track in Fontana was just closed permanently. And now they better pay attention. We can only beat the drum so long and then we sound like we're whiners. But when people come together like they've done on this stock super stock combo, Chris, they're guaranteeing a payout of $10,000.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
I definitely heard it.
Okay, so it's those kind of things that are going to answer your question. As long as people are passionate about the event and they want to see it keep going, I think the 5 of us are more than happy to keep doing it as long as the energy comes in.
Yep.
But if anybody's watching this podcast thinking, well, I hope these guys land on their ass and they go away so I can come in and do it. 700 North Las Vegas Boulevard, have at it. Right, Bill? Right, Steve?
Yep.
Right,
Yep.
Carl?
Gotcha.
Yes, sir. You can
Go.
give it a try. Yeah.
So why not?
Not easy.
So between the 5 of us, you've got 100 years of experience sitting right here on this podcast. And do we make mistakes? Yes, we do. But you've got 100 years of experience here. So if we decided we weren't going to do this, and Chris, you and 5 of your buddies wanted to go do this, you've got a 100-year brain trust right here, and we go away, what are you going to do?
Where did I put Phil's number? I have it somewhere here.
I'll block
Actually,
your call so fast
you know
you
what?
won't know what direction up is, dude.
I like Jill better. Maybe I'll find her number.
She'll block your number too. No, but stop. Just we use the word marinate, but Bill, in Carl's case, he's been doing the swap meet for 20 years. He makes it look easy because he's good at it. The same thing with Bill and Steve about the event. They make it look easy. It's not. And it's a passion project for all of us. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Absolutely.
Very much. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very much.
And that's the type of event you want to go to and participate in. One that the people are actually passionate about. I do want the people in the chat to know that I have been glancing over and I have seen you guys chiming in. My buddy Tad here, I'm going to pull this question up on the screen because it pertains to the show. My friend Tad says, hey, Chris, trying to figure out what pass to purchase for the show. I want to be there all 3 days. Show the demon, race it, and park a trailer for me and the kids 12 and under. What pass does he purchase?
What type of demon is it? New or old?
Oh, it's old. It's old. Old 340 car.
Okay, so the first question is this: is children 12 and under, when they're accompanied by a parent, they're free.
Okay.
Okay. If he's going to buy a race class, whether it's time only, which is probably what he's going to do because he says he wants to be in the show, that covers the race car, the driver, and the pit parking. It's all inclusive.
So he'd only need a ticket for one for himself for the racing, and then one for his wife because his kids are all covered.
Perfect.
For any other adults over 12 anyway.
So for the show, he's got the choice if he wants to be in the fun field and not be judged from a professional staff of judges. He can do that for $39.99, and that comes with the entry for the car. Does that help, Chris?
It helps me. Tad, if you have any more questions, feel free to ask them in the chat, or you can reach out to me.
If anybody's,
I can go ahead.
Right. So, Chris, I was just going to tell you. So here's the beautiful thing about our event. If you're looking over it and you haven't been and you're questioning it, all you have to do is call our number between 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday. And that number is 702-256-8254. And we will answer the phone and we will help you.
There you go.
You
So-
can even
We have
do
the website.
Phil, you said the like the fun field, but there's plenty of cars that are judged that race. And Steve, in the car show, we've gone to great lengths to make sure that people that are racing are accommodated as well. If they're being judged, we'll wait. That's why sometimes it takes a couple days to get all these cars judged and filtered through. So we'll accommodate whatever they want to do.
So the judged entry is $60 because we're going to have the car judged and go through that whole process. But again, in today's technology, if you have a question and you're sitting home and that's keeping you from coming to the event, pick up the phone and call us 702-256-8254 or message us on Instagram or Facebook or email us. My email is phil@matslv.com. We want you to have the answer. We want you to come. If you've never heard this from event promoters, I think everybody on here, all 5 of us will tell whoever sees this video, this event is only good if you come. We're doing this for everybody.
We have our website. There's information on there as well. We have a Q&A page on there. There's references for hotels to stay at with discount codes. And you can access our Vote online store, and it's matslv.com, MATSLV.com.
Awesome. I did. our good friend Johnny Mopars in the house. What's up, Johnny?
Oh,
He showed up and he
Hey, Johnny.
reminded me. He reminded me that I have some friends coming out that have trailers, but they're trying to stay, somewhere off the street. I'm staying downtown. I'm staying at the Golden Nugget. But Johnny's coming down and he's trailering his truck. Is there a way that he can park somewhere on the speedway? Is there like a parking he could pay for to park his truck and trailer?
Yeah, we have, if you're not racing and you're just showing, so if he's going to show that truck in one of the show classes,
Yeah.
there's a trailer parking pass that you can, and it's inexpensive. It's $25, $35
Okay,
for
perfect.
all 3 days. And you can park it in the facility where there's roving security all the time. And you don't have to leave it downtown.
Okay, perfect. Because when people were asking me where I was staying, and I told them, and I was like, "Are you bringing your trailer?" I was like, I highly doubt you're going to roll that up to valet. And have
Right.
No,
valet your trailer.
If you're going to go
Right.
on Las Vegas Boulevard or Fremont Street, please bring your trailer out and leave it at the event. And it's $25 if you pre-enter now to do it.
It's cheaper than valet for 3 days.
Yeah, you can't valet in Las Vegas for $25 anymore.
Awesome. Yeah, he triggered. I remembered I had to ask that because I'm sure there's a couple of people out there like, oh, where am I going to put the trailer? I can't take it to the hotel.
So Chris, let's address this right now.
Okay.
Inside the drag race paddock, just on one side of the track, there's 1 million square feet of asphalt.
We've had people ask, is there going to be enough room? And we're like, oh, yes, there's enough room.
I still can't believe how big the facility is.
yeah.
I'm not the biggest NASCAR fan, but I would like to see how crazy that place gets with a NASCAR event.
There's events that actually fill it all up, Chris. All the parking lots. Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, I can't even put into words how big the place was. I could not believe it.
So Chris, let me ask you a question. So when you came there the first time,
Mhm.
you had no idea what your expectations were going to be, but as you looked around and you saw the Dale Earnhardt Terrace, and then you looked to the right and you saw the Richard Petty Terrace, did you realize where you were, that you're on hollowed ground, that this is where performance has happened for years? I mean, didn't you get those goosebumps?
It's funny you say that because I did. That, like I said, I've never been to a facility like that, let alone one with such legendary history. So it was a little overwhelming for me. And to be honest with you, I'm glad I got one that may not have been as big as previous events out of the way. That way I don't come with starry eyes, when I go to this event, because I was really having a hard time focusing on my work, because I go to these events to work, and I was a little bit distracted just looking around going, wow, this place is amazing. If it was just a drag strip, I would have been blown away. And that's one thing that's, for people that have never been down the drag strip, just standing there, when I was standing there and I was looking up at the stands, I was like, and watching these guys race, I was like, you got to feel kind of like a superstar there when you're sitting at the line. Like that's your chance to feel like a superstar, especially in a venue like that. It'd be like going to, a football stadium to play catch with your friends. It was just, it was really mind boggling. I really had a hard time concentrating, especially when I was down there by the cars doing the burnouts and watching them go down the track and just feel. I had never felt a super stock Barracuda shake my chest. And
Chris,
that was
I remember
exhilarating.
you standing there with you, and you're like, "Are you sure we're allowed here? I can't believe they let me stand here."
Well, I sheepishly went up to Bill and I was like, "Hey, Bill, do you think I can get down there?" Bill's like, "Yeah." And I was like, I was so giddy. You should have seen me run over to Johnny Mopars. I was like, "Get your camera. Get over here now." It was an experience.
So
I'll
Chris,
never
let's
forget.
interject two things to your experience here. First of all, was it friendly? Was it a friendly
100%. Everybody was awesome.
and you didn't feel intimidated, right?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so when we talk about the size of the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, we don't want anybody watching this thinking, "Oh my hell, this is so big that I can't." No, you're not going to get lost. There's signage everywhere. We try to make the event as user friendly as we possibly can. And here is something that some of you are going to get a laugh at. This is not a joke. So we still have people that think because it's called Muscle Cars at the Strip that we're holding this on Las Vegas Boulevard down by the Bellagio.
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay, so just for anybody watching this podcast, the drag strip at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway is referred to as the Strip. Okay, it's called the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That seems like such a simple explanation. I see you laughing, Chris, but the back strip stretch on the NASCAR track is called the Nellis Straightaway. So they've named all of these things. TV has over the years. So when they built this incredible facility, it was called the drag strip, and then it was shortened to the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So muscle cars at the Strip refers to the fact that it's held at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway at the drag strip. And if you want to see the Bellagio, I suggest you leave your buddies behind and take your wife down there.
And one of the greatest, as someone who brought their, son there when he was young, having it enclosed is a huge plus, because you can let your kids go, not real young, but you can let them go and say, okay, meet back here at this time. You go to the drag strip, you go to the car show, you go to the autocross, and you can meet back. And nobody's getting lost as long as you don't go outside the event. So it's contained.
Yeah, one thing that my biggest problem when I was at the show, or the event, I like to call it the event. I keep calling it a show. It's an event.
Call it the event. Call it the experience.
The experience. I like that even better. I felt like I'm standing there and I'm like, it's hard to be in so many places at once. And for a content creator like me, I'm trying to get everything. It was so hard, but everything I got was gold. And it's kind of funny because I'm standing there in the staging lanes and I'm talking to Bill, and I look next to me and there's Mike Musto. So I was like, oh, wow, there's a celebrity, just, an automotive celebrity in there. And I got to talk to him, shake his hand. Couldn't be a nicer guy. Dominator was there. That was crazy. It's just, when you get the car community together, it's not like going to a movie and sitting next to Brad Pitt. Like, these are car enthusiasts and you all share a passion. So when you're talking about, was everybody nice? It was more than that. Like, you could just feel that everybody obviously was there to have a great time, and a great time was had. So, and one thing I also wanted to say is, for people that, are thinking Las Vegas, the lights and stuff, all the hotels look cool. The Strip looks cooler. Like, I'm a big, these lights are cool. Look at it at nighttime, blah, blah, blah. I went to the Strip. There was a period of time where there was cars racing, and I realized that for like 10 minutes, I was just looking at the big sign and stuff. I was like, oh, wow, cool. I just missed a bunch of cars because I'm staring at this sign. But it just has a vibe. The whole venue. The facility is just amazing. So if nothing else, come to see the facility, and you get to see a bunch of cars racing at the same time. I felt like a sightseer. I had like 30 pictures of just the sign, and I was like, what kind of a dork am I? I'm just taking pictures of the sign that says the Strip, because I was like a little kid. I was like, because like I said, I like Las Vegas, and I was really disappointed that I had never taken the time to at least head over there and check it out, because I would have been blown away. And now I'm just excited to go back. So I see Tad asked another question. This is a good question because he's planning on bringing his younger children. Family-friendly hotels. He's looking at the Cannery. What's your opinion?
Yeah, so I suggest we put those links on early, because Las Vegas always sells out in the spring. And now that they've lifted the mask mandate, if you're watching this podcast, go to www.matslv.com, go on the hotel links and get your room bought now, or go on one of the travel sites, because the price of the rooms is going to continue to go up. But the Cannery is family friendly, and so is the Aliante.
Those would be my two recommendations. And the Aliante, yes, they're very nice.
Perfect.
But they will sell out. This isn't, you have to remember, you're in the entertainment capital of the world in the spring, and then they just lifted the mask mandate. Who doesn't want to come to Las Vegas? So get your rooms reserved, and now, because you're going to be glad you've got them.
Yeah, and let me just say,
it's important to go to the rooms from the website, because the specific deals can't be had just by calling. You have to go through the Mats website or mention the promo code.
Yeah, I was wondering what was going to happen with the mask mandate, and I was like, I couldn't risk it. I reached out to Phil, and I was like, hey, where are the deals on the hotels? And he's like, we're setting them up. And I was like, do I wait, or do I just fork out the cash and just get my room reserved so I know that I'm good to go? And that's what I did. Don't hesitate. Just put it on the credit card. Do whatever you got to do. Come out to Muscle Cars at the Strip. I'm curious. I went And on the last day that I was there, I went over to the merch trailer because I was like, oh, I got to get some merch. So I bought a bunch of stickers, and they were out of the Las Vegas t-shirts. And I was like, I'll take whatever t-shirts you got. And I ended up getting like a St. Louis, Missouri t-shirt. And I was like, wait, you guys have had it in other cities? So has Muscle Cars at the Strip been in other cities? Or I was confused. I was like, there's more of them? I had no idea what was going on.
So my friend that had the Mopars at the Strip, or Monster Mopar, he started having health problems, and so we had helped with. We're good friends with the track in St. Louis, and that's where the old track director from Las Vegas was relocated to. So we have done events with them, and we still do events with them in St. Louis. But we had done an event out there for 3 years, trying to bring it back. And so that was just a leftover shirt. And that brings up a really good point. Our t-shirts this year are going to be unique. So if you want one, we suggest you go to the t-shirt trailer when you get there. And
Friday.
Yeah, and get
don't
your
wait
t-shirt
like me.
bought.
Don't wait.
Yeah,
don't wait like me.
And the other thing that we're going to tell you is the post or prior to COVID, we had the largest Mopar apparel dealer in the country come to this event for the previous 18 years. So you never even saw the big rig that pulls in there that's clear full of everything with the Omega M on it.
Oh, wow.
So, Chris, there's a semi that comes to the event clear full of Mopar apparel. And that same Mopar trailer will be here in 2022.
Awesome.
So if you need to refresh your inventory of Mopar wearables, they're going to be there.
Awesome. Where do I apply for the job to drive that thing around?
It's funny you say that. They couldn't find a driver. They couldn't find a driver in 21.
Really?
Yep.
Hey guys, call me. T-shirts probably smell better than trash.
We're going to connect. Let's connect the dots here. So the owner of Indy Cylinder Heads passed away a year ago, and the people that own the Extreme Sportswear, which is the largest Mopar apparel dealer in the United States, purchased Indy Cylinder Heads because they're drag racers. Oh. So not only are you going to be able to come to the Mopar apparel trailer, which is the biggest semi that offers exclusive Mopar wear, in front of that, you can go lay down some money for a 1,000 horsepower stroker motor because Indy Cylinder Heads will be there this year. Wow. What else do you want, Chris? You get your hat, your shirt, your pants, and you get the horsepower to tear your lips off. What do you want, buddy?
Yeah, that's fun. I can sit here all night and just talk about how excited I am. 20 years, man. Gosh, I couldn't imagine. Like maybe in 20 years, if I'm still doing this podcast, I'll be like, oh, so that was pretty cool. But you know, when you're responsible for bringing people together for something as cool as cars, you know, for an event that's, you know, all encompassing. That's one thing I love about events like these is that you don't just get a car show and you don't just get drag racing. You get so much more all in one place. It's like Disneyland for car enthusiasts. It really is.
So Chris, that makes a good idea. A 1,000 horsepower Indy cylinder head engine in a shitbox van that somebody has would make a pretty good.
I'm going to say Pasadena on that. I like Chris way too well to put. He's going to look like Wile E. Coyote with some dynamite strapped to his ass.
Wait a minute. He's already got the van.
I don't care what he's got.
Don't threaten me with a good time. What for each of you? This question is for each of you. What are you looking forward to most for this 20th anniversary? Any one of you can take it. Take the lead. Steve, let's go with you. I'm gonna pick you out of the crowd, Steve.
So the things I'm looking forward to first big time is there's people that I haven't seen for a couple of years because they, you know, everything shut down, that I am really looking forward to seeing. That's highest on my thing. I'm also this year I'm really excited for some of the things that we're going to pull off in the show. It's going to be over the top, and I'm excited for it. And I'm hoping that it runs well enough that I get to go watch some racing.
Carl, what's on your mind, buddy?
Steve pretty much stole it in a way. Yeah, there's a lot of people, that haven't been there in a couple of years that I know are going to be there, this time, and look forward to seeing them again and hanging out with them for a weekend and just, just reminiscing, going over some stuff, seeing how everybody's doing. There again, I'm kind of excited about the car show. I'm excited about the whole event. Really, I think it's going to be. It's going to really be special this time. Like you said, we've all been kind of separated, unwillingly separated, so to speak. And I think this year is going to give us a chance to all get back together and just celebrate.
Awesome. Bill.
Yeah, it'll be great to see a lot of people that we didn't get to see in the last couple of years. Some of the families from Canada. It's always great to see my family. It's great to hang out, Phil a little bit of shit, and and work with Jill and the rest of them. It's always a great time. I'm excited for the new sponsors, new participants that say they're coming. I'm excited to see what Birdsong and all his buddies are going to do at the autocross.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that the old and the new muscle cars and all of the car people are coming together a lot more recently, especially due to COVID. We realize we all have to kind of hang together. So.
Jill, what are you looking forward to?
It's so much work going into the event, but it seems like every year I'm always out in the credential building making sure everything's running well, and I feel like I'm just stuck in a little cage half of the time. But when I get to go out and see all the cars and everybody out at the event and how many people are there and everybody having a good time, that's kind of my reward. That, okay, we did this again. Look what Phil's done again. And that's probably that feeling when, everything's going well and everybody's happy and everybody's in and having a good time. That's probably what I look forward to the most.
Awesome. Phil.
You want to wind me up? I'm about out of juice. No, hey, I got a lot to say about this. So, first of all, as a disclaimer, I don't know if you covered this when you started, Chris, or not, but just so everybody watching this podcast understands, Steve's in central northern Utah, Lehigh, Utah, just south of Salt Lake. Carl's in West Virginia tonight.
Yes, I am.
Makes his home in Nevada. Bill's in Central California. And Jill and I are in Las Vegas. And of course, Chris, you're in Washington State. One of the things I'm most excited about is we've never had a format like this where people could see us and talk to us and ask questions and find out that we're just like them. Bill or Chris, I'm surprised Jill didn't run over me with this comment, but people that look at the event and think, well, those guys are, especially that promoter, he's got to be a real dumbass.
I would not say that.
She'll tell you that when I was a little kid, my mom told her when she started dating me, what did my mom tell you about me?
That when he's about 3, he wore out the back of her red couch, driving his little Matchbox cars back and forth in front of the window. So it didn't start when he saw that brochure for the CUDA. That just clinched it for him because he already had the bug from the beginning.
So you couldn't complain about any of the car related stuff, Jill, because you knew what you were getting into.
Did
you hear that? Did you hear that?
I know, because I helped him restore that 70 purple TA the year we got married, and he gave me some of the crappiest jobs, and I've given him crap about it ever since, to clean this part or clean that, and
cleaning parts.
I stuck with him, so here we are. I can't complain too much.
So the other comment I would make about how nice this format is we get to tell people a little bit about ourselves. And you've heard a lot about me, but I'm doing a lot of the pre-promotion stuff, and I heavily value the feedback I get from everybody on here. But when I was dating Jill, I build a couple of vehicles, and this is no lie, Chris. I would detail them and park them all the way across the street where nobody could run into them, because I lived next to a elementary school, so there was a parking lot there. And I would sit and daydream and look out the window at my car. So if anybody thinks this event is being put on by somebody that all they care about is this, that, or whatever they want to accuse us of, my number is 256-8254.
His cars were always clean. In fact, I tried to surprise him once and hid something in his car, and he washed it before he was supposed to find it, and
That's
found
hilarious.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I borrowed his. He's got a little hoopty that runs around. He uses to run around a lot because he does a lot of running around. And I was going to be nice and go to wash it for him, and the lady, the people at the wash. Oh, hi, Phil. Oh, you're not Phil. What are you doing here?
Oh yeah, they know
no,
him by name.
Phil's got a monthly subscription here. Oh yeah, don't worry. Tell Phil I said hi.
Oh, that's
Okay,
funny.
yeah, hell of a good surprise, guys. Thanks.
So this format of being able to have people see who Carl is and see who Steve is, and to meet Bill, it also gives me, if you can't see the excitement by watching this podcast, I would be amiss if I didn't explain some of the cool stuff we're doing for the 20th anniversary. So I'm not going to let it all out, but watch our social media, watch our Facebook, watch our Instagram. And if you're not on our mailing list, text Matt's LV to 22828. It's all you have to do. Answer a couple of questions and you'll get our emails. It's that simple. We can't communicate with you if you don't know where to find us. And we can't communicate with you if we don't know where you're at. Okay. But one of the coolest things we're going to do for the event is in 2006, we were going to have Ronnie Sox and Buddy Martin come as our guests of honor. And if anybody doesn't know the history, so Chris, I'm sitting on the phone trembling. As I'm calling Ronnie Sox's cell number.
He said to me many times, I can't believe I spoke to Ronnie Sox, one of my drag racing heroes today.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So cool.
So the reason that I bring that up is because that winter, we later found out that Ronnie was battling cancer. And I called him back because a couple of his friends called me and says, you better get some clarity on Ronnie's condition. And during the phone call, I understood through him that he was battling cancer. And this was 2 years after I started doing the event. Now, remember, these events lose money for 5 years. I'm going into year number 3, and I've got a racing icon coming, and now he's telling me he can't come. What would you do, Chris? What would you do?
Oh, man.
You want me to tell you what I did?
Yeah, I'm going to need you to tell, because I would. It takes a lot more than a couple seconds to figure out what I would do.
Tell me about how you filled your pants and how you went over to the wall and you punched the wall. Tell me what you would have done. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I'll tell you what Phil did. He got on the loudspeaker with Ronnie on the phone, and Ronnie spoke to everybody in the facility.
Right.
But before that,
okay.
Yeah.
So before that, as I'm talking to Ronnie, he said to me on the phone, I have had a wonderful life. I get to rev a Hemi Cuda up to 7,000 RPMs and dump the clutch and pull a gear shift lever for a living. How many people get to do that? Chris, are you starting to see what the 5 of us have been able to be part of?
Oh, it's amazing. It's history.
Okay, so Ronnie Sox says to me,
Do you see
look on
this
Steve's
right
wall
there?
right there. Do you see what that is, Chris?
Oh, yeah.
It's a painting. Who's in the painting?
Obviously, Ronnie Sox and Buddy Martin.
So Ronnie says to me, I'm not going to be able to make it out to Las Vegas, but if you'll do this the right way, I want you to do something for me. Again, I'm shaking.
Yeah.
And he says, I go to these cancer treatments and I've had a wonderful life. Again, I dropped the clutch on a Hemi Cuda for a living. And he says, these poor little kids that are sitting in here, and some of them don't even have parents battling this terrible disease. I want you to do something in my name. I mean, how powerful is that, Chris?
I couldn't imagine.
I called I called Buddy Martin and I called Herb McCandless and I says, guys, I need your help. What can we do here? And we found out that Ronnie's favorite charity was St. Jude's in Memphis. So we ran it around the horn with everybody here and talked to some other folks in Las Vegas. And they says, well, you know, Kenny Youngblood, the world-renowned artist, lives right here in Las Vegas. Why don't you approach Kenny and see if he would be interested in doing a painting for you? So we went to Kenny and said, look, Ronnie Sox told us that he would like to commission this last piece of artwork. How can we make this have a benefit to the kids at St. Jude's? So that painting that Steve's got on the wall up there is a copy of an original painted on Ronnie Sox's behalf by Kenny Youngblood. If you go in your computer and you Google Kenny Youngblood, you will see that he's currently drawing for Toyota. He's drawn for almost every big car-oriented brand that has ever been in NASCAR, such as Budweiser, Miller. You just start naming them, and he's drawn for them. Okay.
Wow.
So we did an original for it, and he signed the original, and then he signed 20 copies of the original.
Wow.
And he says, I want you to do something good for the kids at St. Jude's. And the last time I talked to him on the phone, he says, now I have the original one here, and it's got my signature in a gold Sharpie. And I says, well, why don't you keep that one? And he says, no, I want you to have that. He says, I'm going to have Buddy sign it for you and Herb sign it in Las Vegas, and I want you to keep that.
Wow.
So that's the kind of cool stuff that happens to this event. And you can't fully understand what happens at this event by looking at an ad. And this is the beauty of the podcast. If you can't feel the emotion that I'm sharing with you right now, but I know you can, okay? And everybody that's on this podcast will know that we're passionate about this. So the cool thing about that poster was we used to do an auction at the event, and we got a bunch of people together and told them that we were going to be doing these copies, and we were going to sell 20 copies of this, and all of the money was going to go to St. Jude's. And we had Herb McCandless and Buddy Martin there, and they were going to sign everybody's copy. And you got your picture taken with these icons. Okay.
Wow.
And in a matter of about 40 minutes in this tent of a bunch of Mopar enthusiasts in Las Vegas, we raised $60,000.
Wow.
Went directly to St. Jude's in Ronnie Sox's name. So
that's remarkable.
Later, oh yeah. So to Joe's point, on Sunday, then Kenny Youngblood takes this piece of paper that's probably 5 feet tall and draws a welcome card on it, and then sends our staff up into the stands and has everybody sign it.
Wow.
And then we put it we shipped it down to his house, and he got it while he was still alive.
Wow.
Can you imagine that phone call that started with Kenny Youngblood, but fulfilled a happy day for Ronnie Sox? And here's all of these Mopar people from Las Vegas and all over the country that have signed this get well card. And it said right on the cover of it, come on, get better. And it's got a picture of a Hemi Cuda on it.
Powerful. That's what, wow. That's, man.
So being our 20th anniversary, well, so let me tell you the rest of it. So we go to the U.S. Nationals, and they decide and Ronnie Sox passed away in May, and our event was in March that year. So he was able to see that card before he passed away. And when he passed away, they've never done this at an NHRA event, but with the help of some of the people at Mopar, we got together with about 10 other people that owned some of his cars, and we had bought a car specifically at Barrett Jackson because we didn't know where we were going to find a car for him at the event. Is your head spinning yet?
Yeah. It's been, yeah.
So at the U.S. Nationals, the biggest drag race of the year in Indianapolis, they lined up 10 of these red, white, and blue cars. They brought out a special stage, and they'd never done this in the history of NHRA, but they honored on the Jumbotron Ronnie Sox's life.
A really nice video presentation.
And
Wow.
then all 10 of these rowdy Hemi Mopars drove down the return road, and there was not a person sitting in the stands.
Wow.
And there were flat, you would have thought Elvis was walking on water in front of people. If that wasn't cool enough, then Jill and I were there when Buddy Martin handed a check to St. Jude's in Ronnie Sox's name.
That's so powerful.
So, but
Amazing.
wait, there's more.
Okay.
Okay?
There's the salesman in Phil.
No, I mean, if I don't tell you what's in my head, you guys are not going to go to your computer and buy a ticket because you need to be here. So I've got together with Kenny Youngblood, and he's doing a special 20th anniversary cartoon character poster for Muscle Cars of the Strip exclusively that you could buy in Las Vegas. And when you come and buy the poster, he's going to hand autograph each one of them for anybody that comes to get a poster, and you can have your picture taken with this tremendous artist that had a part in that story about Ronnie Sox. How cool is that?
Man,
Yeah,
I'm excited.
it's pretty cool.
That is wow. This is why I love this podcast, because you get these stories and you hear this kind of stuff. I'd never known that's. I mean, wow, unbelievable. I'm almost speechless. That's kind of hard to get me to be speechless. That's such powerful, really powerful, and that just shows you the power, and the camaraderie, the brotherhood of Mopars and muscle cars. Man, that's crazy. I got goosebumps when you were talking about that. That's nuts. Again, something I missed out on that I'm at least glad I got to hear the story. And it's funny, Phil, because before you and Jill got here, I was asking these guys to share something special from 20 years of muscle cars at the Strip. And I didn't get a chance to ask you, and that seems pretty special. That's got to be right up there, if not at the top. Definitely a powerful story. So, Phil, you're a salesman. One more time. Why should people come to Las Vegas March 18th through the 20th and come to Muscle Cars at the Strip?
Well, if the story I just told you and the other stories about the memorial service that we did at the event don't cause you to stop and think to yourself, do I really know what this event is about? It's hard with social media. It's hard with a magazine ad to be able to explain what this means. But Chris, you don't know this. I'm pretty sure you don't know this, but we've had 3 or 4 couples get married at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway during the event.
Is one of them my friend Priscilla?
Yes, she's just one of them. There's been 4 others.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, she's a sweetheart. So if she ever sees this, she's an online friend. I've never met her in person, but she couldn't be sweeter. Her and Joe, match made in heaven. But I've seen pictures of them, and I was like, wow, they got married at the Bats. That's cool. That's awesome.
Well, we had a couple get married on the starting line, and they actually brought out and rolled out almost 100 feet of red carpet that the wedding procession walked down to the starting line, and they were from the Midwest. But when they decided they were going to get married, I can't remember if it was her idea. I think it was her idea. But they wanted to be married at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. When you have people choose your event,
wow,
to get married, and again, this is the beautiful thing about the opportunity you've given us to be on the podcast. And until you know, you don't know. Until you've been, you won't know. But I'll guarantee you something happens every time we get together as a group.
Every time.
Some of it's planned and some of it isn't. But Carl, wouldn't you say that what you saw on the starting line with the September 11th deal was You had no idea it was going to happen, and when it
Had-
happened, it was
Yeah, had absolutely no idea it was going to happen until it happened. And then it's like, wow, you're in a moment. You're just caught in a moment. And over the 20 years of this event, there's been a lot of them. And it's just, that's what makes this show so special, this event, this experience so special, because it will be an experience. I guarantee you, if you come, it will be an experience. There'll be something you're going to take away that you'll remember forever.
I think if going back to when you asked what we were looking forward to, I guess the other thing I would have to add to that is what surprise is there for people this year? Because there's always something, 'cause like Carl said, you never know what's going to happen. And there's always something spectacular and moving for people to see every time, and it's never the same.
I actually never answered my own question. The thing that I'm very excited about is covering the event and showing, like I said, at the last one, I was so shocked that I was even there, and I was just so amazed at the facility and the event that I didn't have a chance to really do my work. And I really want to take this opportunity to go down there and show people what, hopefully they don't even have to watch the video, because hopefully they've been there. Hopefully they were there for the 20th anniversary. That's what I'm hoping. But for those of you that miss out, let's hope that this isn't the last. Let's hope there's a 25th anniversary. Let's hope there's a 30th anniversary. But if you want to see what you're going to miss out, stay tuned, because I'm going to try to get I've got Johnny Mopar coming with me. I told him we're going to be head in camera. We're going to be covering this event because I want people to see and kind of experience what is going to happen, because I want them to know if they don't go to Las Vegas, then they missed out. And my plan is to show them that, so that on number 21, they can be there for that one. But I hope anybody watching this or listening to this understands that. I mean, you just listen to these gentlemen and this fine lady talk about history that has been made at this event, historic things. And for me, as a Mopar enthusiast and a champion for all things Mopar and a car enthusiast, I can't explain how excited I am to see what you guys have in store. Now I'm like, oh yeah, there's surprises. and folks, I don't even know the surprises. Okay, I don't have any inside information. This is all new to me. In fact, when I get off the phone here, I'm going to call Phil and say, hey man, tell me some stuff. What's going on? But I actually don't want to know. I want to be surprised. I really do.
So you asked me a question, and so here's a couple of other things. And I know I talk a lot because nobody's ever given me this stage, and I've usually got stage fright.
Did I make a mistake?
No. So my point is so on Thursday of the event, Chris, we start bringing people in the morning, and it takes us until 7 or 8 o'clock at night on Thursday just to get them in. Did you ever stop and think about how that many people got organized and brought into an event?
No, I sure didn't.
Okay. So there's a lot of organization that goes into this event just for that. We bring in a special person that is a trained Parker. Carl's laughing because she's family. Is Sally not family?
Absolutely, Sally. Yeah. We couldn't function without Sally.
So
we would be lost.
So it's just all of these little things that if you think you've experienced it, you haven't, because it's going to change every year. And Sally's about 5'2", and I've seen her take the most pissed off 6'5" guy, and they absolutely melt when she comes at him and says, "What can I do to help you, sir?" So the customer experience is second to none. But what the answer to your question is about what defines success, basically. When people come to the event and we know they're spending their hard-earned money to come and be entertained in Las Vegas, we want you to walk out the door and almost be depressed on Sunday night because it's 365 days until you get to do it again. When we see that look on your face, we know we've done our jobs. And I think everybody on this podcast would agree that that's our end goal.
That was
Yes, that's true.
that was super powerful. And I think that's a great place to end the show. Because I know that on Sunday when I was leaving, I was pretty depressed and I couldn't wait until the next one. Um, for everybody tuning in, I'm going to say this one last time. For everybody tuning in now and in the coming weeks, March 18th through the 20th, Las Vegas Motor Speedway, muscle cars at the Strip. You've got autocross, you've got a swap meet, you've got a car show, you've got drag racing, and some secret surprises. Who knows what cards he has up his sleeve? He's a character, I'll tell you that. You're only getting a glimpse of Phil. I've gotten to talk to Phil on a couple occasions, and he's a personality. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on the show. I really appreciate you, and I can't wait to shake your hands again in Las Vegas. And I'm looking so forward to this event. If anybody in the next minute or so here, while we do our little closing outros, has any questions at all, you can ask them in the chat, or for the more show related questions like parking, stuff like that, and costs, you can always reach out to Phil. I mean, he's given his number out 9 times on the show, so you can give him a call.
702-256-8254.
He wants people to call.
MatsLV.com.
He's lonely. I know it.
At MatsLV, message us. No, I want you to be informed. We want you to come. If you don't take anything else away from this podcast, is that we are promoters that are passionate about what we do, and we want you to come. Because without you, there's no us.
And if you see any of these people at the show, say hi. They couldn't be nicer, right?
Right.
Except for
That's
maybe
right.
Bill. Bill's kind of grumpy. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. Once again, Phil, do I get Johnny Mopar and I? Can we get a golf cart this time? Because we were dying.
Jill, we got some static here. We can't hear anything. Can you? Can you hear anything,
I
Jill?
think I lost my audio.
What was that? 1 million square feet of asphalt? Yeah, by the end of the weekend, you agree there's 1 million square feet of asphalt.
I am happy that it's going to be in March, because in September I was trying to go live and my phone kept overheating. It's never done that before, and I was like, really, you're going to overheat now? So Johnny and I are bringing the big guns, and we're going to have some better equipment, and we're going to really cover this event. I'm excited. And I don't know. I'm going to be begging Phil to get, one of my dreams is to say something in that booth up top. I don't know what it is, but I will beg to be like, welcome to Muscle Cars at the Strip, the 20th anniversary. Who's having a good time? Like something. I don't know. Phil, you got to make that happen for me, buddy.
It
could be.
Dream.
So it's done. You
They'll make it happen.
Yeah, that's going to happen. When you bring up golf carts, here's just the people that just supplied the Super Bowl with golf carts. Okay.
Okay.
And the links on our website.
The same people that just serviced the whole Super Bowl provide the golf carts for this event. If it gives you some idea. No, seriously.
Wow.
I mean, all of these little fun facts, Chris, this is what goes into this event. It's not it's not cars and coffee 4 blocks from your house.
No, it's definitely not that. I can attest to that.
So we want you to come, but I mean, everybody, when Chris gets up on the stage or up in the loudspeaker, which I'm going to do, I want everyone to give him an attaboy online. Can everybody do that for me?
Yeah, give me an attaboy, folks. That's like a little.
That's
dream
easy.
come
You're
true.
done, dude.
Oh yeah, we'll see how powerful my voice is when it's in front of thousands of people, and they're like, "Who's that guy?" It's gonna be fun, and I cannot wait. Once again, March 18th through the 20th, Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the Strip. Not the one with all the hotels, the one with all the fast cars, okay? That's where we're going. That's where we're all going to be, and you better be there too, okay? If you have any questions, Phil, where do they go? One last time, where do these people go when they need to know information about muscle cars at the Strip?
Okay, so you can go on our website, which is www.matslv.com, or call us at 702-256-8254, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. through 8 p.m. And you can also message us on Facebook and Instagram. And my email address is phil@matslv.com.
And
Oh,
one
one
more.
last thing, Chris.
Go ahead.
So we are honoring, this is the last time we're going to honor 2020 credentials that anybody that did not come to the event in September. So if you paid in 2020 and you haven't used that credit, please reach out to us and email me at phil@matslv.com so we can research your records and have a new packet there for you. Because all of those credentials from 2020 expire as soon as this event's over. So we are going to honor all of those. So please don't be bashful. If you have a credit, we'd like you to use it and we're going to honor those. What does that tell you about the event?
I have them all ready to go. All they have to do is show up.
Awesome. And one last thing that I want to say before we shut this podcast down is that you don't have to have a race car. You don't have to have a show car. All you have to do is show up and have a good time. Okay, folks? And with that, I will say bye to my friends Steve, Carl, Bill, the beautiful Jill, and I can't call you beautiful, the friendly Phil.
Please don't.
And with that, folks, that was Talking Mopars Friday Night Live with my friends from Muscle Cars at the Strip, March 18th through 20th, Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Be there or be square. Okay. Nobody wants to be square. The Strip. We will see you there. Thank you for watching. No Mopar left behind.